portfolio for quite some time. I've handled performance issues for 2 different employers, and that has given me experience in understanding what really happens when it comes to performance and underperformance and how to go about such. I'm a family man. I'm married with 2 kids. I am certified HR professional at the College of Human Resources Management. I'm a member of HRM. And I'm also an alumni official of College of Human Resource Management. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. So just a little bit, just to introduce you to High Performance, so myself and to High Performance, for the purposes of those who do not know us. My name is Martin Wanjohi, and I have the pleasure of leading High Performance Africa. And what we do at High Performance Africa is purely around instructional design, strategy execution, performance, and leadership and development. I am certified in balanced scorecard and instructional design also. And also something I did a while back, which has been helpful in my career, is a neuro linguistics programming, basically just being able to understand people better. So those are the areas of focus, and just some of the clients we've had the privilege to work with over the time. And what this page just shows our philosophy. We deeply believe that the purpose and the only purpose of learning is to improve to impart skills to improve performance. So that said, Kevin, maybe just to kick off the discussion, what do we actually mean when we're talking about performance? Kevin, you're with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Sorry, I was looking for the unmute button. Basically, performance is the process. Is basically the doing of something that you've been given to do, a task, to the required standard. And performance management is basically the process of handling or managing the whole process of performance, starting from contracting or setting the goals to the achievement of the objective. And it's a process basically which we leave to the supervisor and the officer, or an employee and his supervisor, where they agree on the targets. They get to meet frequently and discuss the progress of the achievement of the targets, and at the end of the year, evaluating that objective, if all those objectives that were set at the beginning of the process, if they were met or not, and of course taking consequence or managing the consequence thereof.
Okay, you've mentioned something very interesting, standard. Now, let me just ask, in your opinion, from your industry knowledge and expertise, do you think we set the right standards for performance?
I like that question, a very good question. Sometimes we come up with standards that we feel or we believe in our eyes that are right. And the reason this happens is because we, most of the time, disengage our annual, quarterly, media targets or standards from the common vision of the organization. You see, when an organization prepares a strategic plan, it could be a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan. It has something it wants to achieve in those years that it has set. So basically, our annual performance evaluation, our standards that we set, the objectives that we set for the annual performance, they should be aligned to the goal. So you'll find that because sometimes we don't even have visibility of that strategic plan, or we do not know where the organization wants to go, we then set standards that to say that these are ambiguous. So yes, many organizations are falling the trap of setting standards that they feel that are okay or are right, but that when you look at the whole or the eagle eye bit of it, the wholesome a look or view of it, you'll realize that they are not really standards that are that can really hold water or that are aligned to the common goal of the organization. Hence, they really don't take us there.
Okay, so thanks. Now I want to come back to the audience, and let me ask a question which you can respond to in chat. We all have our KPIs, what we're supposed to deliver, against which performance is measured. Just by quick question, are your KPIs measurable? That you can look at it and say, yes, I can use a formula to calculate my performance, and that I can have data to actually validate my performance. Maybe a yes or no. And to make the question simpler, are your KPIs measurable? Now, Kevin, as people respond to this, I found that we have a tendency to measure activities in performance rather than the outcomes. What's your thinking around that?
When you come to performance measurement, there are various ways of measuring the performance, but the goal is the same, so that you get the most accurate way to measure the performance of this individual. So when you measure activities and leave alone the objective, which basically is what tells us if we have been able to, is what tells us where we need to be using the results, then it means you're just ticking the box and or getting it wrong altogether. So a book called OKRs, that is Objective and Key Results by John Doerr. And this really opened my eyes, I think 2 years ago. And it's basically one of the ways Google managed to exponentially grow to the whole world and become the biggest search engine. They create an objective and then have key results that they measure. So this objective, yes, it could be, you want to increase visibility, but how, or sales, but how? You need to now have the key results, which basically are measurable and have numbers to it. Increasing maybe sales by from 1 million to 5 million. If, for example, you have a million clients, you need now 5 million. You need to be able to measure the numbers. And having been able to measure the numbers, you're able to see if the objective of the client base has been met. But when you just measure initiatives, and initiatives in this case could not, sometimes don't even have the numbers. It could be like, have 10 clients visit, or just have visits of, visit clients. Or the numbers could be skewed, like number of visits instead of the number of sales closed. So if you measure initiatives of, like, for example, visit clients, you shall have realized that you've visited clients, but have you been able to close the sales? So our measurement of the of initiatives is a little bit off. We need to see the key result, the outcome, instead of just the initiative or the work or the activity that was done.
Great. Now, this reminds me of one initiative that Wells Fargo in the US had on the number of accounts opened, and people got accounts opened, but there was no money running through the accounts, which again,
exactly,
is you're measuring how many accounts has someone opened, but what is the outcome of that account? So now, let me just ask this, and I know it's something just
before you ask, I'd like to add some meat there.
Yes.
Yeah, before I moved to KRA, I used to work for a bank, one of the top tier banks, and was in charge of performance there. And when we were coming up with the performance metrics, that was one of the metrics. Number of accounts opened, number of bank assurance sales made, number of, what do you call it? Such. So until later, then we realized we were measuring the wrong thing. And I asked, of course, our head and the head of business and the head of marketing, sales and marketing, and the head of branches to come up with, justifiable metrics that measure our outcome and are aligned to the organization. We were then able to measure now value. So instead of the number of accounts open, we are now looking at number of funded accounts. And based or depending on your cadre, if you're a teller, that would be fine as long as it has funds, whether it's 10,000, 20,000. But if you're a salesperson and that is your main work, you come to the office and you're going to say the value of that account would be, you realize that to say number of funded accounts between 100,000 above or 100,000 1 million. And if you're a manager, for example, 1 million to 10 million, so that now we measure you, because you just can't open an account. Otherwise, you'll find that there are people who visit schools, universities, and they would open accounts for university students. And when students are given some, what do you call it? Some motivator, whether it's music, whether it's a little bit of lunch, they would open those accounts. And then you'll find that you have opened 1 million accounts, but no. So you'll realize once you put the funding bit of it, people would go and indeed seek for these funds, because the main organizational goal is to bring revenue. A person doesn't open a business without the main or primary goal of bringing revenue or creating profits. Yes. So what brings the profits, not the number of accounts, is the value in those accounts. So thanks for bringing the Wells Fargo idea. It's so local here, and it's something you have interacted with. And if there's anyone in this call that works in a bank, you will relate that indeed, when we measure the performance of these salespersons, front officers, the persons opening accounts, then we always put the funding bit to that.
Okay. So just to go back to the question I'd asked the audience, whether their KPIs are measurable. Some are saying yes, some are not, some yes, some no, partly measurable. Now, Kevin, let me just throw this back to you. Should all the KPIs someone have be measurable, and can they all be measurable?
Thank you, Martin. Even though they should be measurable, because as Peter Drucker says, what you can't measure, you can't control. You must measure for you to be able to see if there is even an improvement or a lack of improvement thereof, so that you come up with ways to mitigate that. If they are not really measurable, then have timelines to it.
Okay.
Measurable. When I speak of measurable, I mean numbers, I mean figures. In terms of percentage. If, for example, it's a project, you want to close the project by, the whole project 100% by end of the year, then at least you give percentage of it per month or per quarter. In quarter, you need to close 25% of the project as per a work plan. So that is measurable. And again, if it's not numbering, if you know an objective or an initiative that can really have a number to it, then at least have some timeline. So basically have some way to measure something. Otherwise, if it's ambiguous, then someone will tell you he has been able to achieve it, and you will say yes, but is there an impact? You realize there's no impact. Okay. There's no value.
Perfect. Now, something very interesting came up when we were doing our last certified instructional designer, and we came into the question of productivity. Now, and this is a question that we came up. Can someone be achieving their performance, but they're not productive?
Yes.
Maybe you
performance means getting something done as per the standard that is. For example, prepare 100 letters, or memos, or doing something, but then have they really produced anything? You'll wonder. Productivity means you are producing what really an outcome, an output, something that is valuable to the organization, that has some value to it. Okay. And so you may be able to perform your tasks, visit clients. You have visited maybe 100 clients. So those are 100 clients visits done. But have you produced something? Have you produced a sale? Have you closed a deal? Has it brought in money? That is now being productive. Okay. So you'll find that you are able to perform very well, 100%, but productivity in the sense of producing something out of the things you do, you may realize you have not done it. You're not productive.
Okay, perfect. So in our discussion, we actually in the question, answering that question during that training, one of the key things we were seeing was productivity is as an outcome of what were the inputs versus the output. And it's a higher measure. And I think as we move on, it is interesting that organizations actually move into productivity, because you might have a salesman who has a target of 100,000 shillings a week, but their budget is say 10,000 shillings, and another salesperson has the same budget, but they produce 200,000. So you'll see the one who is who was producing 200,000 shillings in revenue with a budget of 10K is more productive than the other salesperson. Now, Kevin, let me ask you this. Should we focus on just performance of people or employees, but do you also need to look at their productivity?
I think it is important and imperative that both go hand in hand. As you measure performance, measure productivity. Otherwise, there are those who will perform, use your monies, use your time, use your resources, but then they are not productive. You don't see value from them. And you see, an organization, like I said, is not opening just to see people busybodying. It is an organization opens, a company opens to make money, to bring in a lot of revenue, and in that sense, make profit. So that it is those profits that will be able to pay, to foot the operational costs, to pay your salaries and wages and all the money that we put into the employees. So it is very important that we measure performance and productivity. And you see, when you look at productivity, it measures the hours you put in, the effort you put in, the cost that the company puts into having you there, vis-a-vis the outcome. So if you're a salesperson, we pay you, for example, 100,000 a month, that is 1.2 million a year. We pay you, we pay for your medical, we pay for your transport costs and airtime. The desk is there, uses electricity, and all these, when we are able to measure the amount of money per hour, per day, per month that put into you, and then what you bring us per month is, for example, 500,000 shillings in terms of revenue, then we'll be questioning 50,000 shillings in terms of revenue per month. We'll be questioning our inputs. Why do we input a lot and you bring in less? So, or we'll be questioning your performance and productivity. Are you really productive? Yes, you have been able to perform and bring this, but then are you productive? So we will be forced to start, increasing targets here, threefold, tenfold, and that brings friction. And of late, the government actually, from last financial year, the government introduced productivity to complement performance. Kitambo, when you would visit any government office for a service, you'll realize unafika unapata hakuna mtu kwa desk, ni koti ama suti unaona tu imekuwa hanged kwa kiti, alafu ukiulizwa unaambiwa yuko tu around, so the person has been so busy doing his own things, failing to serve customers. So in 2002, 2003, the President Kibaki brought in what we call performance contracting, so that employees are able to create or to come up with goals and sign against them, and then of course get appraised by media and NDA. So of course this is a performance management, which again was coined into performance management, so it's no longer performance contracting. So that it's a wholesome look at the process, and it has increased our level of service, satisfaction. And right now, if you look at, for example, KRN in terms of customer satisfaction, we are 73%, and as compared to then where we were like 40%, we have really improved. And many organizations, many government parastatals and agencies have really improved in terms of customer satisfaction, because government is supposed to serve customers. Right now, we have realized, yes, we have improved in terms of customer satisfaction as a government, and hence we are now bringing in productivity so that we also find value by putting in, from the large number of staff we have employed. So governments, bodies, parastatals, agencies, all of them are, from this year, have started measuring productivity. So we are still calculating the productivity index through the metrics that we have. From next year, we'll start now measuring productivity. And that's why I'm saying it is very important that we bring in productivity to complement performance, so that we're able to see who is here yes, doing their work, but are not useful, so that
Mm.
it helps reduce on the wage bill.
Okay, perfect. Now, you mentioned some few interesting things, and I want to go to the audience. And I want to, one, welcome questions on chat. You can put your question on chat. And then, Kevin, you mentioned something about business, where an organization has a culture of people being very busy, very busy. But when you look at the performance, it doesn't equal to the business. Now, and it goes back to the situations where you find an organization, people's performance is high, but when you look at them, the organization's performance is not as expected. What do you think happens in those kind of case scenarios?
Basically, this is what happens. First, you'll realize that maybe they have ambiguous or no objectives at all. You know, there are organizations who today, and it's so sad that you have organizations that do not come up with goals, or they don't set goals. They don't have objectives for the individual employees. So people just become busy anyhow, doing everything and anything to be seen to be working. Then at the end of the year, HR sends them a template that we are closing the year, hence we need to appraise ourselves. Appraise ourselves based on what? You understand? So you'll find that HR creates some parameters, appraised based on attitude, lateness, etc., such things that don't really add value or matter. Hence, you'll find that year in, year out, people just get busy doing nothing, because knowing very well at the end of the year, it's just a template that's coming and they discuss supervisors. Depending on how they understand one another, you find that everybody's at 100%. And for those that have targets or goals or objectives that are able to set objectives, some are setting ambiguous objectives that are not smart. And for me, a smart objective must be simple, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound, and aligned. You must align your objective to the whole organizational objectives. There are those who also have too many KPIs, so they just here all over. You know, so you go to, and when it comes now to measuring their performance, you are not able to really see what exactly that makes them become too busy, but then doing nothing. And sometimes also there's a challenge of, bias in terms of appraisal, and supervisors just, tend to lean towards friendly of subordinates or people who they relate with so well. So once there's that relationship that has been bonded, so one doesn't have the obligation to work, so it just becomes busy doing nothing, knowing very well at the end of the performance period, supervisor has got my back. He'll just appraise me well. Until now, we institute more objective, more ruthless performance measures and have a different culture of doing this, where the business will continue happening.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So, question for the audience, and I've typed it on chat. In your organization, does everyone set their own KPIs, or there is a set of KPIs that employees can select from? So we can say the responses is one, everyone sets their own KPIs. So you can have one KPI awarded 10 different ways. Or number two, there is a KPI library that speak to employees can select from. So one or two. One is everyone sets their own KPIs. Number two, there is a set of KPIs and employees can select from. And we can respond to that in chat. And then we want to open the session for questions.
Before we open to the public, I would like to add one thing about how basically to do away with the busyness or the pitfalls in performance measurement.
Yes.
One of the things that the government has introduced, I like one Ambassador Francis Mudhaura. In 2003 was the head of public service in the Kibaki government. And is the one actually is the brain behind performance contracting. I am glad I got to meet him at KRA. Actually, we were revamping the role of performance so that we become better. We become like the go-to parastatal for other parastatals as a benchmark, and many have benchmarked with us. I hope there's no one here from KRA, or even if there is, I'm sure you'll agree with me. Introduced through the advice on performance validation. You see, performance management is okay. Is a very, is broad and it's a very good thing to do. And performance appraisal is something that is happening all over. But how sure are you what you're appraising is authentic, is accurate, and is factual? We have blind trust mostly with our officers. You may have 10 people you're supervising, and everyone will do their own self-appraisal before it comes to you to appraise them. So at the point of appraising, how sure are you what you're appraising is factual? How sure are you that what they are saying, what they have written, that they've done is indeed accurate and right? The only way to verify this is when you conduct validation. So we introduce validation, and that really woke people up. So everyone now understands that we have everything they do will be validated by a different panel apart from their supervisor. So the panel will not even have the supervisor in board. It's just a panel of colleagues in the same department, yes, but the one not the people you report to direct. So it uses bias, it enhances objectivity, and of course, and accuracy and facts. So you find that we are looking at the evidence of your achievement. For every objective, for every initiative or KPI, when you say, oh, you achieved this, you need to bring an evidence. Okay. And the evidence could be in form of a report, in form of a summary of activity and signed by a supervisor. So that has really made people realize that performance is not just a process to play around with, and it's very serious process. And it has reduced on the number of people who are just busybodies in the organization. And that's why you see that we are really meeting our revenue targets.
Okay. So yes. I'm seeing one answer on chart that in my case, my KPIs are borrowed from my immediate supervisor's KPIs. Now, Kevin, I know KRA uses a balanced scorecard. Is a balanced scorecard a tool that is good for performance management?
Yes. I would say yes. Balanced scorecard is very key in both strategy development and in monitoring and evaluating that the achievement of the strategy. Hence, it is very key in managing employee performance. Balanced scorecard has 4 different perspectives. We have the learning perspective or organization perspective, where we look at, a learning organization is always a good organization because we get to learn new things, we get to adopt new things that come in. And of course, enhance capacity and capability of our employees. We have the business perspective, where we look at the processes and then that enhance our processes, and basically to ensure we are efficient and effective. We also have the customer perspective, where we ask ourselves, what does the customer expect of us? Because the customer is king. It is they who make us exist. So the customer perspective will make you really work towards ensuring complaints are resolved, customer satisfaction is enhanced, and those activities that relate to ensuring the customer is happy. Perfect. And finally, financial perspective, which basically is what the shareholders want. Shareholders want profits. Shareholders want revenue. They want, money coming in. So financial perspective, we look at how much revenue have we collected, how much profit have we made, such. So it's a very important tool to help you look holistically at performance appraisal of an employee, how he has been able to build himself or take opportunities that are available for building, how he's been able to use the processes that are available to be efficient in his operations, how he has been able to serve customers and make them happy because customer is king, and how he has been able to bring in profits for the organization.
Okay, perfect. So I'd like, as we wind up, I'd like to open the floor for 1 or 2 questions, which we can quickly answer. Or again, we have a WhatsApp group for the January webinar sessions, so that question can also be asked in that group. So let me open this let me open questions, and you can type them on chat or raise them, or actually even you can ask them in the WhatsApp group. Kevin, I think after this, I'll be inviting you over to the WhatsApp group.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have any questions? Let me stop
Sharing
and also recording as we are